feeling off right now, and maybe you've been told that the 1 hour difference in time is just not a big deal, or maybe you're even over in the UK where there hasn't been a time change yet, but there's a shift in light that's occurring. So today I'm going to talk about why you might be feeling off and some strategies that you can implement. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube channel and the Evolving Wellness Podcast. This is a bonus episode that I'm going to be putting out everywhere so that if you are experiencing this shift in time or even just the shift in light that is happening with the spring equinox, you can have some strategies to implement that are going to help support you during this time. This is an Instagram live that I did. It's a replay. So I'm posting it here for easier listening. I know it can be really annoying to try to listen to an Instagram live with the app open. So that is what this is a replay. Now in this video, or if you're on audio only listening, I do say comment DST for the links to the podcast I did with my partner, Carrie, as well as the link to some discounts on my beginner circadian classes. I'm just going to post those in the show notes. So I apologize if you're listening and you're like, oh, how many more times is she going to say comment DST? But I really wanted to let you know that those links are going to be in the show notes for you to easily access them if you want to get them after listening to this chat. But there's so much valuable information in here that I hope it's going to be helpful for you, as well as validate you if right now you're just feeling a bit off from the time change. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to explore all those reasons why again and give you some real life strategies that you can implement. Before we jump into the video, I did want to let you know I am holding a practitioner course. And you can do it even if you're not a practitioner, if you just want to dive into these topics on leptin, circadian biology, and quantum biology a little bit deeper. And that course is going to launch on April the 1st. It's called the Leptin Master Plan. Now, my 21-day leptin reset is still helping people all over the world. And we have had some really amazing results just from that program. But I've had an outpouring of practitioners and those just really wanting to dive deeper into the information so they can implement it on that deeper level with their clients and with people they work with. So I am creating this course. It is in process. It will start on April the 1st. And if you are interested in getting more information, the link will be down in the show notes. Again, my 21-day course is going to be adequate for most people. But if you're just someone who wants to dive deeper, learn more, or implement these strategies with your clients and understand how to practically apply them, then check out that course. It is going to only be available for registration up until April the 1st. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this chat. Thank you for watching.
Good morning. Surprise pop-up live. Wanted to talk quickly about daylight saving time. And if you're feeling off, I have heard some people on the internet say people are just making a big deal out of nothing, right? People are overblowing the daylight saving time thing. It's just 1 hour. It's not a big deal. If you're feeling off, then you need to go get blood work, get hormones tested, all these things, right? I disagree, and I'm going to talk about why. Good morning, people coming on. Happy to see everyone this morning. It is Wednesday, and we had the time change here in the US on Saturday night. So we're all kind of shifting and adapting to this. And in the UK, Europe, I believe it's happening in 2 weeks. So I know I have people that watch and that are here from all over the world. So it might not have hit you yet. And yeah, I'm already getting people in the comments saying, yes, feeling off ever since. And so I wanted to just chat about why. I just want to talk about why, and then hopefully give you some tips and some things that you can implement to start feeling better and adjust a little bit better. So I just actually went live in my private membership group to discuss this with them because it's coming up in my group constantly. I feel off. I'm not sleeping good. What is happening? My sleep is disrupted. There are these doctors. I got super triggered. Somebody says last Saturday in March for us in the UK. So UK is coming up. Hasn't happened yet. People are saying it's kicking my butt, but I got really triggered yesterday from this doctor that I follow. I'm always interested in talking with people on my podcast about hormone imbalance, hormones. I just really like these conversations because a lot of people that are here in the community are kind of in that sensitive area where they are having hormone shifts, right? Over 30, over 35, 40, it's a time where hormones are shifting already. So I'm following this doctor, and he does this whole reel about, you guys are making a big deal out of nothing. It's just 1 hour. It's silly. All these people are overblowing it, this, that, and the other. And it's people here in the comments, I feel weak, and I was feeling great up until Sunday with the time change. So it's a thing, right? And it's in my group. People are commenting and saying they're not feeling well. So why? Again, it's 1 hour. Why? So two things are happening at the same time here. Number one, the clocks just got shifted. And so there's a huge change in your circadian rhythm. And the days are getting longer. So we're coming up on spring equinox in 8 days, 9 days. It's a week or so. It's coming up. So the days are naturally getting longer also. So anyone commenting, I just want to give you a resource. If you want a video that my friend Carrie and I did on daylight saving time, we have a podcast called Quantum Conversations, and I'm having a sale on some of my mini courses on shifting your circadian rhythms. I'll give you the links to those. Just comment DST under this video, and I'll send you the link to that video so you can watch, our very, very practical tips. And these tips will work when the time goes back. They work year round. So the cool thing about the things that Carrie and I talk about, and the things that are in like my little mini courses and in my free resources also, so I have free resources in my bio also, is that these are going to work year round, and they'll help you adjust to shifts and changes. So that's one thing I want you to know is like your circadian rhythm, it takes about 3 days for it to shift, for it to change when you're really consistent with these things. It shouldn't, the time change and these things, it shouldn't linger for a month, but it will for some people because they already have. So if you want to see the video, the longer video that my friend Carrie and I did on daylight saving time, comment DST below this video, and it'll automatically DM you the link to the video. You can go watch it. It's a longer podcast that her and I did, and we have a really fun podcast called Quantum Conversations, where we talk about these kind of complex topics, but bring them to the everyday person so the everyday person can actually implement this stuff into their lives, right? That's something that we did. But I just want to talk about why everyone is feeling off right now. If you're feeling off. If you're not feeling off, awesome. Ignore this video, click off of it. Like, I don't want to put ideas in your head. There's a placebo effect too that happens when we talk about things, right? And I think that's what this doctor who was talking about hormones and like, just get your hormones checked. If you're feeling off, you just need to get your hormones checked. It's a hormone problem. There's nothing wrong with shifting the clocks by an hour. Everyone's blowing it out of proportion. I think he was annoyed because he's like, oh, it's placebo effect because everyone's freaking out about it. And there's a little bit of truth to that. If everyone freaks out about something, that's why I don't watch the news. That's why I filter my feed. That's why I'm careful with what I allow into my field, because it will mess with your head. But I'm feeling off, and I've been doing all this circadian stuff for a long time. I also have a baby. He's 17 months old, and he screamed for 2 hours the other night because he was like, why are you trying to put me to bed? This is not my bedtime. Like, what are you doing? My kids are both off. So again, two things are happening right now. One, in the US, our clocks just shifted an hour, and two, the days are getting longer. So something that most people don't talk about, there's more and more of us in the quantum and circadian health field that are talking about this and educating and trying to provide the information on this. Light that comes in through your eye via suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is attached to your brain. So in other words, light that comes into your eyes tells your body to make specific hormones, to turn on specific hormonal pathways. Blue light is not bad. We have natural blue light outside. So when you go outside for sunrise, if you're going out and you're there before sunrise, like the daybreak, there's no blue light. There's none. It is more of the red. It's just like coming up, right? It's this beautiful pink hue. Sun starts coming up, blue light appears in the sky. And you can see this with a light meter. You can go out there and measure with a light meter and actually see this. So blue light is a signal to your brain to start making cortisol, to turn on these specific pathways that begin making cortisol, right? So we talk a lot about in the circadian world of blue light is bad, no blue light. We're talking more so about unfiltered blue light from your phone. So when you're outside in the morning, it's telling your body to make cortisol, specific amount, and it's a controlled process, right? When you're looking at your phone, you're telling your brain it is noon in the middle of June, catch up. Make enough cortisol for midday, hurry up, catch up, right? So that's why I always tell people, if you wake up before sunrise, throw on a pair of yellow or orange blue blockers, then get outside. Don't look at your phone first thing if you can help it. If you have to, for like kids, for school, for work or whatever, try not to look at anything like the news or social media that's going to get dopamine and like all these crazy things going. Just glance at it, have your phone screen turned red, wear your blue blockers, and try to get natural light as your first thing. So what's happening with more light is that our bodies are making more cortisol. So a lot of people are feeling a shift in cortisol. And when you look at the research and the science around the daylight saving time, especially the spring change, where we lose an hour, and someone says the sun was hidden by snow and clouds today. So 80% of UV and all of the red and near infrared can still get through clouds. So clouds, they're not fun. You don't get that great, sometimes that great feeling when it's a cloudy day outside, yes, but you still get the signals that your body needs, even if it's cloudy or rainy. Nature doesn't make mistakes. It's not stupid. So don't stress about clouds or other obstructions in the sky. I just had a whole conversation with my private group about that. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to get canceled off of Instagram. But there are some clouds that we cannot control that are, you got to be, anyway, 80% of the UV can still get through. So you're still getting the signals if you go outside. But what's happening right now with the time change and with spring equinox approaching in the northern hemisphere. So I know I have some Australians. If you're in Australia and New Zealand, you should probably be sleeping or getting ready for bed right now. And it's shifting towards less light, which is another kind of hormonal shift. But more light, more cortisol. And cortisol is very hot right now. Cortisol is having a moment on Instagram. But nobody's talking about this impact of light. So if you're just joining, you want to watch a video about daylight saving time and some practical tips and tools that you can implement for yourself, for your family, if you have a job, comment DST under this video and I'll DM you the video and also a discount code on my mini courses that are about circadian rhythms, resetting those. If you want to dive deeper than the free video. The video is going to give you a ton of information though. So just comment DST below the video. If you've just jumped on and you want to learn more, I'll DM you that link. But the cortisol is a master hormone like leptin. If you're new to my page, I talk about leptin all the time. So leptin, cortisol, and melatonin are master hormones. So what this means is they impact all the downstream hormones. Your thyroid, your sex hormones, all of these things are impacted by these master hormones. That's why instead of doing a ton of ancillary testing for all the downstream things, I look at the big ones and work on the basics, the stuff that's pretty much free that you can do to impact those downstream hormones, because then we will see a lot of the time these other hormones can shift, right? And if you've just discovered leptin, then welcome to my page. That's really the main thing I talk about here. I talk about leptin a lot because working on leptin can really help to impact all the other systems in your body. We have leptin receptors in our heart. We have leptin receptors all over the body. It's a fascinating hormone that will really elicit change when you work on that. And it's not super, super complicated, but it is something that most people, it was a hormone that was discovered in 1994. And if you type into Google, like leptin and PCOS, leptin and infertility, leptin and hot flashes, leptin and depression, just like leptin and cycle changes, there's so many amazing things about leptin and all these different leptin in the heart. I'm actually working on a practitioner course that'll be ready April the 1st for nutritionists, dietitians, naturopaths, even I have some doctors that have already signed up. that want to learn more about leptin and how to implement principles of reversing leptin resistance into how they work with clients. Because I've had a 21-day leptin course that's been amazing, that I've done with people. It still is really amazing for people over the last 3 years. And I've got a ton of practitioners that are like, I want to create a similar plan for my clients. So that's coming April 1st. I think there's a link in my bio. Yeah, anybody can do the practitioner leptin course. And I'll be doing 6 live Zoom calls that are like 2 hours long a piece over that 6-week period that are all recorded. So I'll be talking more about that on the page, but there's a link in my bio to get on the wait list for that. But it's just a crucial thing. Looking at these master hormones and cortisol and leptin have an inverse relationship. So if your cortisol is whacked out, your leptin's going to be whacked out. So that's why your appetite, your mood, your sleep, all of these things get so impacted by this 1 hour time shift. And by spring equinox approaching and the amount of blue light available to us, natural blue light, is more than we were experiencing before. And so there's a shift in cortisol. And again, all that research on heart attack and stroke and mental health stuff that pop up this time of year is very legitimate. And a lot of it goes back to the shift in cortisol. And so what can we do to help our bodies adapt to that? Because our bodies are very adaptable, they should be. What I work on, I used to be like, eliminate and protect and, what can we do to shield? I still think that can be very valuable for people especially if they're working on chronic illness. But my goal is to help you be more resilient and more adaptable, because we're always going to be changing seasons. The amount of light in the sky shifts gradually on a daily basis, right? So most people know that in the summer, the sun comes up way earlier than it does in the winter, that there's a lot more light available during the summer. Most people don't know that your hormones, and this is very well documented in the literature, your hormones shift seasonally. Your microbiome is supposed to shift seasonally. Thyroid shifts seasonally. There's all these seasonal shifts that happen. Why? Because the change in light, because the change in the amount of cortisol our bodies are going to naturally make, and melatonin. Also, melatonin's a master hormone. And so these things are largely manipulated by light and also temperature too. So the temperature always is shifting as well. But what we can do to offset some of these things is really trying to get as much bright light in the mornings as we possibly can. And blocking the blue light after sunset. Those are the basic things. So if you're just jumping on and you want the video that my partner Carrie and I did, that's a longer explanation that gives you some really good tips, comment DST under this video. I'll send you that link as well as a coupon for my mini courses on circadian rhythm if you want to dive deeper. I also have free resources linked in my bio that you can always download at any time, ebooks on all these topics. But that's available to anyone who's looking to support themselves this time of year. There's an abundance of scientific literature that shows bright light in the mornings from sunlight is going to help your body, again, make the appropriate amount of cortisol, and then blocking the blue light after sunset. So right now, we just have to be more diligent with those things and going outside and getting as much natural light as we can. And I know a lot of people have jobs, a lot of people have children, a lot of people have lives where it's just difficult to get this natural light. But I'll tell you, I have people in my membership group who work from home and they're still feeling the impact. They're still feeling affected. And so there's a shift happening. But it should be about a 3-day, 4-day, few days where you feel a little off, but your body should adapt and adjust if you're doing these things. So bright light in the mornings, blocking artificial light at night, going outside, getting natural light signals as you can, adjusting your food. So food is a Zeitgeber, it's a secondary timekeeper. And that also, so shifting your breakfast time to be right around sunrise, and then making sure that you stop eating before sunset. I know now sunset's happening a little bit later, so we've shifted dinner time to be earlier than it was, which is another shift. So you want your body to be able to make a lot of pineal melatonin when you're sleeping so that you can get into those deeper healing, resting, repairing. So for pineal melatonin, to support pineal melatonin, the morning sunlight, especially that UVA window, is where the body gets the signal to make serotonin, which is converted into that night's melatonin. So that's why, again, that morning sunlight is so important, because it helps with the pineal melatonin, which is actually only about 5% of the melatonin that your body makes is a pineal melatonin. The other 95% is subcellular melatonin. We make subcellular melatonin in response to infrared light on the skin. So you get that. That's about 40%, 42, 43, depending on who you ask, of the sun's natural spectrum. And you can even get that through clouds and rain. So you can still get that on your body. Another thing you could do is a red light therapy panel, right? That can also help with the subcellular melatonin production. And what that does is essentially kind of cleans up damage that's happening throughout the day. So I think a lot of people are having inflammation. They get these illnesses, and we try to approach it with diet and supplements and all these things, and they only get so far because you're not signaling these endogenous repair mechanisms that your body has. Like, our bodies have these amazing endogenous repair mechanisms, and getting that sunlight on your skin during the day will tell your body to make that subcellular melatonin, which kind of cleans up all those messes. I always liken it to like a mom kind of going around the house and picking up socks throughout the day and picking up messes that her kids are making, so that when you get to nighttime, that pineal melatonin can actually do some more complicated stuff. Autophagy and apoptosis, all those things can happen because you've gotten adequate subcellular melatonin production during the day. And so there's the alternative health world is so full of these supplement protocols and all these different things, and no one's really talking about this impact of light, right? And so if you're feeling off with the shift, I want you to know that's normal, and you're not crazy. I know it's just 1 hour. And then even if you haven't had that time change yet, the days are getting longer. So really understanding that basic thing, that light signals the brain essentially via the suprachiasmatic nucleus to make cortisol, right? And so you're going to make more cortisol. It also, UVA light signals your body to make your sex hormones, your thyroid hormones. All these other hormones are signaled by light. Carrie and I, again, so if you comment DST under this post, I'll send you a video that my partner Carrie and I did on the time change and all these things, talking about these topics. But we have a podcast coming out this Friday about gut health and your circadian rhythms, which is fascinating because there's so many people that are like probiotics, gut health supplements, but they don't talk about the impact of light on the gut. It is huge. It is absolutely huge. Your gut lining is meant to repair every few days. But guess what happens if you're not getting darkness, if you're not getting the proper melatonin production? Gut lining can't repair. And again, like I mentioned, the gut microbiome shifts and changes with light. There have been an abundance of studies that show a positive impact of gut changes, gut health, with light, with red infrared light as well as UV light. Pretty fascinating stuff. Someone says, if I was to choose between viewing sunrise and UVA, which one would be more beneficial for just 1 month during Ramadan? Oh, yeah, so I have to wake around 4 a.m. for pre-dawn meal, so I have to stay awake for sunrise. So that's a tricky one. Ramadan, you're doing a ton of fasting, and it's an off schedule. Who I would follow is Jalal Khan. Brilliant. He's in Australia. He's a quantum dentist. That's what I call him. And he's really got this down, and he's going through Ramadan right now with his family. And so I wonder if he would have some really good tips for this. But if it were me and I had to eat a pre-dawn meal and I wanted to get my rhythms in check, I would, keep the blue blockers on until sunrise and get out there for sunrise. If you can get out there for UVA as well, it's going to be helpful because they do kind of two different things. So sunrise is, again, blue light appears in the sky at sunrise. And so it's a signal to your brain, let's, stop making melatonin, start this gradual production of cortisol, but not too much. Let's not shoot it up way too high. And then UVA is a secondary window where we have the serotonin production that also is converted into that night's melatonin. We also start this process with other neuropeptides that can be an appetite suppressant, or they kind of work as an adaptogen. It's pretty interesting how sunlight does all these amazing things to our body. And so alpha MSH is something that actually helps to suppress appetite if you're having appetite issues, and UV light in the eyes and on the skin helps the body to produce alpha MSH. So if you're somebody that struggles with a lot of afternoon hunger and eating, going outside is going to help your body make that alpha MSH, so it can be a natural appetite suppressant. So that's something that can be really helpful. And how much sun do I recommend? And somebody also said how to prevent sunburn. And so the best way to prevent sunburn and how much sun I recommend is everyone should really start with the morning sunlight, because I'm not one of these sun people that say, go lay out in the sun for 6 hours. And you can absolutely overdo the sun exposure. You can photo age your skin. These are real. I'm sorry. I don't care who is out there saying there's no such thing. Infrared light does provide protection and help to heal damage of UV light. There is a protective mechanism there. There's a lot of chemical pathways that get activated. And so, yes, there's a protection there, but you can still overdo it. I am clearly not somebody with a Fitzpatrick 4 or 5 with a natural dark skin. I'm, a northern haplotype. So you have to build up your exposure to the sun. I have a course called Harnessing the Power of the Sun that can really teach you that. But, and sometimes I'm afraid to lose too much weight if I follow quantum lifestyle. So these things are like an adaptogen, right? So if you need to gain weight, these things will help to regulate your appetite. So if you need to gain weight, it can help you to eat more. If you need to lose weight, it can help you to eat less. It's an adaptogen. So don't stress about those things. Let's see, what's the latest to eat before going to bed? I really don't like people eating 3 to 4 hours before bed. And I do skip dinner probably once or twice a week to give myself a little bit of extra fasting so I can go into those deeper repair states. But you got to build up to that. You have to become fat adapted. You can't just start doing that, or it will disrupt your sleep. So in my 21-day leptin reset program, I kind of have a lot of techniques for people to do this in a guided way where I can actually help you do this. But leptin is this hormone that I was talking about earlier. It's a master hormone along with cortisol, along with melatonin, that is kind of like an accountant. So it docks to the brain at night when you sleep to give a report of how much energy is on the body, how much body fat you have, how much stored glucose is in the liver, and it gives direction. So there's leptin receptors in your brain. And like I said, I'm working on my leptin practitioner course right now. So I'm going to lay out, here's the name of the receptor and all the sciencey stuff. But all you need to know as a layperson is there's a receptor in your brain that it needs to happen at night when you're sleeping. And so if you've eaten, if your insulin is up, insulin competes with leptin for that docking space in the brain. And that will prevent leptin from docking to the hypothalamus, causing leptin resistance, where your appetite, your hormones, your thyroid, all those things are whacked out because this download of energy information is not happening every night. And so this is why I'm very try your best to get fat adapted enough so you're not eating too close to bedtime, so your body temperature can drop, so that you can get into those deeper states of sleep, and so that leptin can do its job. Right? And that's also going to help with cortisol, like I'm talking about with this daylight saving time thing, is, really, really being conscientious of the fact that the more light outside is telling your body to make more cortisol. It's a signal. And so that's why there's a shift going on for a lot of people right now, and maybe even an uptick in anxiety, an uptick in these mental health things. Bipolar, people who have bipolar, they can go through mania at this time. It's a real legitimate thing. And it is because of this amount of light that is changing and shifting. And it really does impact you on this hormonal level. So nobody gives a crap about circadian health. until it comes to this time of year. And then people are like, all right, I'm interested. Like, tell me more. So if you do want to learn more, comment DST under this video, and I'll send you a link to video I did with my partner, Carrie, discount code on some of my mini courses on circadian health. So you can use that if you want to dive deeper. And I also have free resources in my bio that are free ebooks that will lead you through some of these conversations on light and tell you how to implement these things. So meal timing, again, is a secondary circadian signal. So it's going to tell your body what time of day it is. So if you're eating at 9 o'clock at night, you're telling your body it's still daytime. And when you eat, your body does make some cortisol. So this is why I don't like eating, and it's not bad, right? Cortisol is not bad. Everyone's like demonizing cortisol. It has purpose in the body. It's an important hormone that our body makes. It's good. But if we have too much of it, and we have too much of it at the wrong times of day, that is where we run into trouble. And so when you eat too late at night, number one, you're telling your body to make cortisol, which opposes melatonin. So cortisol and melatonin cannot coexist. The pineal melatonin, right? Subcellular melatonin, yes, because obviously we're in the day and we're outside, right? So that can coexist. But pineal melatonin that we're supposed to make at night in response to darkness cannot coexist with cortisol. So if you're eating cortisol, right, and then insulin, again, it's going to block leptin. And so these are important things to understand with meal timing and food. Let's see if there's any more questions. What was the name of the quantum dentist? Jalal, Jalal Khan, Khan. He's been on my podcast before. I need to get him back. What are the signs of photoaging? Just wrinkles, sunspots, hyperpigmentation. That, it happens in response to sun. It is a thing. I think people are a little over scared of it, but it is a thing if you overdo the sun. It is a thing that can absolutely happen. What do I do if I get a bad sunburn? Red light is very, very helpful, very healing. Minerals, hydration. Go to my water highlight. I have a whole video that I made on YouTube about water and hydration. So if you get a sunburn, aloe on the skin is really lovely. Those things can be really helpful. Let's see if I have more questions here. What about the Equip shake as your last meal? I really don't love the Equip shakes. I know I have a code for Equip. They have sweeteners in them, and sweeteners can really, really do a number on leptin. If you look, again, I'm a big person of like looking at research and data. It's not everything, but it gives you something to hang your hat on and some like, okay, well, I'm not crazy here. Just like I was saying with daylight saving time and cortisol and all the health problems that arise from the shift in cortisol. Same thing with artificial sweeteners and leptin. It can screw with your leptin. So I really don't like people doing the shakes. I don't like bars. I don't like shakes. I don't like those foods not because I'm some holy purist or whatever. I just don't like what they do hormonally to the body. I'm always looking at what signal are we giving our body. So when you're eating a highly processed food, your food is a form of light, right? I'm all about the light. And this is what has been so amazingly helpful to me in understanding nutrition and changing my mind about food and nutrition, is just seeing food as another form of light, right? And so when you're eating something that's highly processed, your body's like, what the hell is this, right? High in deuterium, which is a whole other rabbit hole, a whole other topic. So I just don't really like those shakes because of those reasons. So yes. Did you fast at all while breastfeeding? I really did not. I really didn't, because Dr. Mindy Pelz, I don't agree with everything she says on fasting. I think she's got a lot of great information on fasting for women. Her and I kind of like are not aligned on a few things. But one of the things that she says that I do agree with about fasting and breastfeeding is that after about 16 hours, your body does start to kind of detox a little bit. And when you're detoxing, in your breastfeeding, it will come out through your breast milk. And so you don't want your baby to get your byproducts. And so, yeah, when I was doing a lot of breastfeeding, I did not do a lot of fasting. My son is 17 months. We are not breastfeeding right now. That's a whole other story. I had my daughter in the ICU and she had a bunch of health challenges. And so that kind of brought our journey to an end there. Unfortunately, I'll talk about that at another time. But I did not start the dinner skipping and doing more fasting until we had stopped breastfeeding completely, because I didn't want to run the risk of having anything coming out of my breast milk that could be harmful to my son. So that's something, breastfeeding is like, it's a state of leptin resistance, honestly. Breastfeeding and pregnancy is a state of leptin and insulin resistance. And it's kind of one of those things you're like, okay, well, my body did not want to let go of any weight until I got to my son was about 7 months, and we were doing less breastfeeding. We got to that year mark, and then my daughter's health went wacky, and we were in the ICU, and I was in the hospital with her, and it was just a nightmare. So I'm like, okay, I did the best that I really could. He's eating amazing, nutritious food now, and, I did the best I could. And I had a ton of breast milk in the freezer, so we still have that. I did store a lot, so we still have the breast milk in the freezer that we're able to give him. But my body, long story short, the breastfeeding was not letting go of weight until my son was eating a lot more food and I was breastfeeding less. So I get a lot of breastfeeding moms that are like, I can't lose the weight. I'm like, yeah, well, your body is like trying to support a human right now. So do the quantum strategies that I talk about, because this is what happened with me, and I've seen it happen with a lot of women. I was still very consistent, the best that I could be with a baby, with all my quantum and circadian habits. And then my body hit this point when I was breastfeeding less. I was still doing it, but it was like a whoosh. So I have a photo of myself in April of last year, and I was, I had probably 30, 40 extra pounds. Then I lost it all right around August. It was like whoosh. I didn't stop breastfeeding until a few months later. But my body had just like whooshed it off. Because I was really kept on loading myself with these signals, getting my cortisol, melatonin, leptin, really working on those things. And then it was like, oh, okay, he's eating more food. We don't have to store. So it's a whole thing. Do you have recommendation for cutting carb completely? If I have PCOS, I feel like it's not the best decision. No, you don't want to go from high carb to no carb. That is a recipe for wrecking your sleep. Blood sugar dysregulation is a mess, right? So I do, in my 21-day program, lay this out for you so you can go slowly to get your blood sugar balanced and work on things like PCOS. We work on leptin. So if you look at the science on leptin and PCOS, it's incredible. So yeah, that's what we work on, and we do it gradually, we do it slowly. I never want anyone to go from like 300 grams of carbs to 20. That's a really big recipe to mess yourself up. What's the reason behind not reaching a deep sleep state? There's so many reasons for this. If you've got artificial light coming in, that is going to disrupt pineal melatonin. So that's a huge one for people that still sleep with the TV on. You've got light pollution is huge. I mean, I live in the city. I have blackout curtains in all the bedrooms, so we don't have any of that. I tape over anything that emits a little light. Smoke detectors, so you really got to be conscientious of those things. But the other things I mentioned, right? So insulin being up is preventing melatonin. Dopamine can also prevent melatonin. So scrolling on your phone before bed, dopamine is going to interfere with melatonin release. So that's another reason. Not getting adequate morning light, because that UVA is where we make the serotonin that gets converted into that night's melatonin. There's just a ton of things. It's a long conversation. Let's see. Will this life be saved? Yes, absolutely. My toddler needed help. I understand. I have a 17-month-old, and we're in the middle of that. I make plans, and my son says no. What do you use to protect skin, especially face? A hat. I wear hats. I wear visors, sun hats, shade, cover up. If you really want to use like a zinc oxide, I think that's okay. But I just wear hat and shade. When I lay out in the summer, it's usually like, neck down, just really trying to get it on my gut, because the implications with light and gut health are huge. And so I'm always trying to get a good amount of light on my belly. I'm really trying to get my legs, but I do wear hat and shade and cover up my face. I just do. My pigment markings are all in the shape of a tiny love heart. I'm new here. My leptin is 2.8. I know that's low. How do I increase it? Again, the stuff that I talk about here, the circadian piece, getting cortisol and melatonin worked out, getting leptin worked out. I have a 21-day leptin course. that is like an adaptogen, right? And I do have in my leptin course some things that we do for low leptin versus high leptin. If your leptin is low, I don't want you doing fasting. I don't want you cold plunging. A lot of it anyway. I don't want you really doing keto. There's things that we need to do differently for a low leptin, but a lot of this stuff that I talk about, like I said, with the sunlight is like an adaptogen. So if you're low, it'll come up. If you need to gain weight, it'll come up. If you need to lose weight, it will come down. Let's see, even stevia. So I was talking about artificial sweeteners. Yes, even stevia will mess with your leptin. I know. What time did you say would be the last meal? I like 3 to 4 hours before bed. Longer if you want to increase your autophagy, apoptosis if you're fat adapted. I cannot get access to any of your water stuff except Himalayan salt. Is this enough? Good high quality sea salt is going to be really helpful. Absolutely. Let's see. Do you use a non-toxic? Yeah, I just answered that one. So you can use zinc oxide. What about Megan Ramos on fasting for ladies? I haven't really gone into a lot of her work. I've worked with a lot of women and then myself and then a lot of women in perimenopause and menopause. And so I kind of am more on a circadian piece with fasting and making sure people are fat adapted enough to do it. I think it's a great tool, but I haven't really gone into a lot of her work, to be honest. Aw, thank you for this kind comment. When you fast, how long do you fast? I'm still not really doing anything over 24 hours. I just don't, I'm not trying to lose a bunch of weight. My health is really in a good place, so I don't see the need to do more than a 24-hour fast. Like I said, I'll skip dinner maybe once or twice a week, and I have to feel it. Like it's something that my body's like, oh, we don't need to eat the dinner. And now that the light is changing, I'll probably do a little bit less of that fasting, skipping dinner. I did that a lot more in the winter time when the sun's going down super early. There's just like kind of a natural thing, like, oh, it's dark at 5 p.m. I'm not really hungry. So I did that a lot more so during the winter. Now that the days are longer, probably won't do as much of that. Let's see. Do you look at your cell phone after dark with red glasses on? I will admit that I do it. It's not a good thing though. It's not something I want people doing, but I will do it. I do. And I try to cut myself off and pick up a book, an hour before bed, 2 hours before bed if I'm really, really being good. But like I said, dopamine is going to block melatonin production. So you can do all the great stuff with the food and be looking at something on your phone that's get your dopamine going, or you get upset and mess up your sleep. So if I'm going to look at my phone after sunset, my phone screen is on red and I'm wearing blue blocking glasses. Been in menopause for 14 years and get less than 5 hours a night, sometimes no sleep for 3 days. I would definitely do these basics of circadian health. I've got a lot of menopausal women that are in my group that are doing these things, and they said they've started getting the best sleep they've had in 20 plus years. So absolutely. Should ketosis be used at all if leptin could be low? I really don't, unless there's like some sort of a medical issue like epilepsy or autoimmune or some sort of other issue like that. I really don't push in a lot of ketosis, honestly. Opinion on GABA supplement, mixed, because if you have a blood-brain barrier issue with GABA, it can really cause some problems. Vitiligo. My friend Chris from EMR Tech, it's a red light therapy panel that I use. He healed his own vitiligo and continues to do that using strategic sun exposure. And so that is one I would work with somebody on, but Chris is a really, really good example of somebody who's been able to heal using sun. How do we know if our leptin is low? Typically, you're going to be underweight and have really a hard time gaining weight and low hormones. That's typically what leptin is low. But people have been doing keto, carnivore, a lot of fasting. That can also create low leptin. So it's a case-by-case basis, but most people, if they have weight to lose, they have elevated leptin. We should treat it as such. If you are trying to gain weight and you're having a hard time, that's usually low leptin. What's the longest you've seen it take someone to start losing weight? 12 weeks, sometimes longer. If you're coming into this with really disrupted circadian rhythms and a chronic illness, your body is going to focus on getting your hormones back in balance and really trying to address this chronic illness before it's going to prioritize weight loss. So everyone wants the weight loss. I get it. But if your body is like working on a bunch of other stuff, it needs to work on the other stuff first. So just keep that in mind. Really struggle to wake up to see sunrise. My body just won't do it. Any tips on doing this? I mean, just do it. I know that's like not a nice thing to say, but you just got to do it and be consistent and really work on your nighttime routine the night before. That's where I would start, is your nighttime routine the night before. Getting the eating window cut off, wearing the blue blockers, winding down before bed, maybe taking a nice warm bath before bed to help your core temperature drop, and then just getting out there. The more that you get out there, it's a signal to your brain. It's going to phase shift your circadian rhythm. It's going to shift. It's going to be helpful. Let's see. I know I'm missing some of these comments. I have 75 pounds to lose. How often do you recommend fasting? Have done 21 day. I feel better, but no weight loss. So again, if you have 75 pounds to lose, I do want you pushing more of the ketosis, more of the fasting, more of the fat adaptation, along with all the circadian quantum things. Because if you have excess weight, your body is in an energy crisis. Your body is rapidly losing energy. Your mitochondria is not functioning. They're not functioning properly. And so we need to work on those things. And we need to push in more fasting, a little bit more ketosis, while we're working on the other energy inputs in the body. So food, like I mentioned earlier, is another form of light. That's all it is. It's also one form of energy that the body uses to move electrons across the electron transport chain, make deuterium depleted water and ATP. So food is a form of light, and it's electrons. The body's energy currency is electrons. So if you're overweight, it's a sign that your body does not have enough electrons, and it's trying to eat, it's trying to hoard food because there's an energy crisis. This is leptin resistance. There's an energy crisis in the body. Would you suggest keto for Crohn's even if low leptin? I wouldn't. I would not. I would look more at a low FODMAP diet. I wouldn't really push a lot of ketosis as a starting place. I don't use diet as a starting place. I don't. I use the light. I use the mitochondrial support. I use these signals as a starting place because, like I just talked about, when you have a weight problem, you have an energy crisis in your body. Your body is not getting enough electrons. Your body is not getting enough energy. It's causing you to eat more. What causes our body to lose electrons? Artificial light, too much of it, the wrong light signals at the wrong time of day, disrupted circadian rhythms, lack of grounding because we get electrons through touching the earth, believe it or not, lack of sunlight on the skin, another way our body makes electrons. So there's so many things that we need to work on, and then we push in the food. But if you, in non-native EMF is another one. If you've got your phone in your face all the time and on your body and AirPods and Apple iWatch, you're draining your body's energy battery. You're creating an energy crisis in the body. And so we gotta look at the whole picture, not just the food. The food conversation is just like 1/3 of the equation, if that, honestly. So that's why I'm not like, everyone wants to talk about food, but you gotta address the other stuff first. And then when you get the neurotransmitter support, alpha MSH, POMC, all these things, these really important neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, serotonin, dopamine, guess what activates those? Sunlight, morning sunlight, even afternoon sunlight, daylight. So guess what's going to help support you when you get to the point to make dietary changes is having all those neurotransmitters and all those neuropeptides and hormones online. So that's why I'm not a food first person anymore. I used to be, and then people weren't making progress. People were getting stuck and they were spinning out, and I'm like, what is this? And then I had that crisis myself. So now that's why I approach things differently. I have a Spurdy sun lamp. It's both UVA and UVB. Is it okay in the morning before sunrise? I would not do that in the morning before sunrise. When do we have UVA? Right after sunrise. When do we have UVB? Middle of the day. So if you're putting a lamp on your skin before sunrise, can you imagine what kind of signal that's sending to your brain about the time of day and the time of year also? I wouldn't do that before sunrise. What level of leptin range is the best? So for women, I like to see between 7 and 10, not medical advice. For men, I like a 0 to 4. Those are pretty healthy. And you can be, really obese and your doctor will measure your leptin. Your leptin's at like a 50 and your doctor can say that's totally normal. We want to bring your leptin levels down because, again, it's going to impact all these other systems. Is this recorded? Yes, this is recorded. I'll keep it on my page. I might even post it onto my YouTube channel tomorrow, so for easier viewing. But yeah, I think I got to all the questions. If you're just tuning in and you want a video that's going to help you, give you some tools to navigate time change, comment DST under this video, and I'll send you the links to that as well as coupon code for some of my beginner circadian courses. Now the sun doesn't rise till 7 a.m. here in Tennessee, but I have a lot to do prior to 7 a.m. What should we do light-wise? I would put on a pair of blue blockers and try to keep it as restorative as you can. I know, like Carrie, that's her and I have our podcast, Quantum Conversations. We talk about this because she has 3 kids. I have 2 kids. I have a special needs child and I have a 17-month-old. So it's like there's literally only so much you can control. You got to get stuff done. People have to be at work. So I really like putting on a pair of yellow or orange blue blockers. If your hormones are super dysregulated and you need to be up, I would go ahead and eat something if you have to be up, just to give your blood sugars that stability of the morning and a signal to kind of get things going. And then when it is time for sunrise, take the blue blockers off, go outside. How long? As long as you can. I know that's a hard one because everyone's like, I want the minimum effective dose. The more dysregulated your hormones, the more UVA that I would try to get. I would try to get a sunrise signal for a couple minutes, but the more UVA is where the magic happens. That's right after sunrise. I would try to get more and more of that. I have severe sun damage on face and just got an EMR tech panel. Will it help? It absolutely could. I would also work on cellular hydration. So check out the water video that's in my water highlight. I've seen people reduce and even get rid of sunspots by working on their hydration. So that it can be really, really helpful. 10 degrees sun is quite hot, okay to get exposed. You want to gradually build up your solar callus and gradually build up your sun exposure. So more sunrise, more sunset, those are the more of the rich in reds, and they're going to help your body build up more of that solar callus. So when we're talking about sun exposure, and I'll probably do a separate live stream as as we get more and more into summer and the hotter months, you really got to be careful and build up that solar callus, and you really need to work on your morning sunlight because we should always see sun in sequential order. Why not turn on lights in home before sunrise if you want to be up? Because it's basically telling your body it's the middle of the day. Overhead lights are the same intensity as the midday sun. So you don't want to do that to your body first thing in the morning. You really, really want to get that natural light signal. Is there a better time to work out? I mean, I would rather people not do a morning fasted workout because that's, again, it's another signal for your body to make a lot of cortisol. I think after breakfast can be good, midday, early afternoon. I don't want you doing it too close to bed, but you got, it's real life. It's real life. So you got to do what works for you. What do you do if you have to get up for work and school? I mean, blue blockers. Those are really going to be your helpful. The most helpful thing is the blue blockers, and they're so simple, and you just pop them on. Yellow or orange, because if you try to wear red, you're going to bump into stuff. I always tell a story of falling down the stairs pregnant with my red blue blockers on, and my husband's like, "That's it. You've gone too far with this light stuff. Stop it." So anyway, all right, I'm going to run. I will keep this here on the page. And I'm going to try to post it on YouTube tomorrow. But and I'll answer this last one. Getting morning sunrise, should you expose your face and eyes without sunscreen or zinc oxide? I would. Because the UV index is not super high during those times, so you're less likely to get damage on your skin. And if you're really sensitive, someone who's very sensitive to hyperpigmentation, wear a hat, shade. The most important signal is the one coming in through your eyes, always. Now, we do have those secondary photoreceptors on the skin. So that's a backup mechanism that's there. My blue blocker glasses, I have 2 companies I use. They're both linked in my bio with discount codes. And I have a free guide to using blue blockers linked in my bio that'll give you all the ins and outs of using them, what's optimal, what's not. So that's also in my bio under free guides. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming on today. Have a wonderful day, and just stay consistent. And this time shift change, you'll feel better soon. I promise. Just stay consistent. All right. Have a great day.